My wife lost her memory and completely forgot about me, her husband who had been with her for many years. She got together with her childhood sweetheart who was also from a wealthy family. The two of them were in love with each other without paying attention to others, and they even wanted to divorce me. Friends and relatives advised me to wait until she regained her memory, and then she would regret it. But I signed the divorce agreement without hesitation, because I knew that my wife had never lost her memory from beginning to end. 01. My wife Chi Yun-shan had a car accident, and she was not seriously injured, but there was some congestion in her brain. Before meeting her, the doctor reminded me that there was a certain probability of dizziness, amnesia, and other symptoms due to congestion in the brain, so I should be mentally prepared. So when she woke up and asked me who I was with an indifferent look, I smiled brightly. Yun-shan, I am your husband Shani Chen, do you really not remember anything? I gently stroked my wife, and my smile became even gentler. We have been in love for 6 years, married for 2 years, and you are still pregnant with our baby. This time, she is still very healthy. You, as a mother, are also looking forward to it. Touching her bulging belly, Chi Yun-shan's eyes flashed with guilt, but she still shook her head firmly. Impossible, Zhozha and I have been childhood sweethearts. We have established a romantic relationship since the first year of high school. How could I allow you, an outsider, to interfere? This child has nothing to do with you. She turned her head to look at Zhozha and stretched out her hands to him. Zhozha, we have always loved each other the most, haven't we? Even in this car accident, we stayed in the car together to bear the impact. We are truly sharing happiness and suffering. Zhozha smiled awkwardly, but he still held Chi Yun-shan's hands tightly. The midday sun shone through the thin screen window, and the fine dust flying with the sun enveloped the two people who were snuggling together, and the hazy beauty was really like a mural. Just like when they were in high school, the two of them kissed deeply under the setting sun. At that time, they were making a fuss, and I was quietly reading and doing exercises on the side. If a teacher appeared, I would become their tutor, helping them cover for 3 years. I knew I was just a follower, but I was happy to do it. Because I was poor and because my parents didn't like me, I was deprived of the qualification to go to high school even though I ranked first in the city's middle school entrance examination. Fortunately, the aristocratic private middle school specially recruited 10 poor students with excellent academic performance, provided generous scholarships, and rewarded tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of yuan after the college entrance examination, so I was able to continue studying. Studying well was originally the capital of students, but it didn't work in aristocratic private schools, because this is a place where money and connections gather, and poor people who study well will only be their workers in the future. You can imagine my situation. Looking at the mocking and discriminatory eyes of the crowd, I even regretted coming to high school. I had the urge to run back home and be sold to a stupid woman as a son-in-law by my parents at a high price. But I was lucky. Zhozha finally accepted me and allowed me to be his and Chi Yun-shan's follower. He said that the other boys in the school were too good. If I always followed him and Chi Yun-shan, what if I hooked up with Chi Yun-shan? And a humble poor man like me, no matter how handsome I am, is at most a waste in the eyes of women. No rich daughter will really like me. I don't remember what I thought at the time. I only remember that he gave me 10,000 yuan, which was the money for me to be his follower for 3 years. In the eyes of many people, 10,000 yuan is insignificant, and no one will bend over for this little money. But I will. 02. Why are you still here? Chi Yun-shan frowned and was very unhappy. Her voice pulled me back to reality from my memories. I smiled good-naturedly. Then I'll go home first, you take care of yourself. Then I nodded and smiled at Zhozha. Zhozha, then trouble you to work hard these days. Zhozha's eyes were full of pity. Shenjia, I'm sorry, it's Yun-shan and I who are sorry for you, but I really love Yun-shan too much, I can't leave her, please leave her, okay? I looked at Chi Yun-shan silently. Chi Yun-shan stared at her belly, and there was hesitation in her eyes. Zhozha buried her head in his neck and begged, Yun-shan, I can't live without you. When the car accident happened, you promised me that you would divorce and marry me. If you want to keep the child, we will take good care of it. If you don't want to keep it, I will arrange the best doctor. Chi Yun-shan heard the hesitation and said to me coldly, Shani Chen, I don't know what happened between us, but I really can't love you, let's divorce. I wanted to laugh. Zhozha, do you really love Chi Yun-shan? Chi Yunshan, do you really not remember what happened between us? The fork in the fate of the three of us was after the college entrance examination. At that time, I was admitted to Peking University as I wished, and I also received the 500,000 yuan reward promised by the school. Even though most of it was taken away by my parents and younger brother, I finally had a little savings of my own, and I could finally breathe freely in college. Chi Yunshan's academic performance was just okay, but because she took the path of international return to save the country, she also went to a prestigious university as she wished. Only Zhou, even with multiple ways of blessing, unfortunately scored 200 points in the college entrance examination, which was so low that it was shocking, and finally he could only go to study in the UK. At first, Chi Yunshan and Zhou could barely maintain their relationship as a couple, and they talked about love every day on video. Chi Yunshan went straight to the UK every holiday. But over time, the young and energetic hormones were restricted by the separation of the two places, and the pride of the prince and the princess made them unwilling to give in and compromise, and finally ended in a tragic breakup. At that time, Zhou even sent me bed photos of him and several foreign women in order to stimulate Chi Yunshan. He said harshly at that time, "Chi Yunshan, don't pester me anymore. Your flat body can't satisfy me at all. I will never love you again." Chi Yunshan was so angry that she wanted to go to England to kill Zhou. As proud as she was, she couldn't stand being cuckolded so many times. Her parents couldn't stop her, and I stopped her desperately. She and Zhou treated me as a lackey, but I treated them as a friend. Because no matter what their original intentions were, they saved me who was once the poorest and most helpless. I just didn't expect that in the end, Chi Yunshan chose me to be her boyfriend. I asked her why. I deeply remember the disdainful tone of her answer. "Shenjia, the person Zhou despises the most is you. In his eyes, you will always be the lowest dog. But I just want to love you and hold you in my arms. I want him to know that in my heart he is not as good as a dog like you. I want him to regret it for the rest of his life. Am I sad? I should be sad." But I nodded in agreement. Because the more I see, the more I find that poverty is the most difficult chasm to cross, and I need a springboard with a high starting point. And Chi Yunshan is the springboard for the latest water tower. Now she and Zhou are back together, and I have become an abandoned dog again. It doesn't matter, I have already got the money and wealth that I desire most in my heart, and I never ask for love. 03. When I was in college, the condition for me to agree to be Chi Yunshan's boyfriend was a monthly pocket money of 200,000. Some people call it selling money, but I don't think so, because we are normal boyfriends and girlfriends. I am not a mistress, and she is not a mistress. Pocket money is just an additional product of love. The reason why I want money is that I give myself a retreat. My intuition tells me that once Zhou comes back, what awaits me is being kicked out. I am very lucky. Zhou has been obsessed with the pursuit of various beauties on the other side of the ocean, so I have been making money by dating, and using money to support myself to keep learning and progressing. With money, I hired a one-on-one foreign teacher to improve my poor spoken English. I didn't need to go abroad to learn English, but I also learned the standard London accent that is sought after by the upper class. With money, I hired a one-on-one teacher to teach me Spanish and French. During the summer vacation, I persuaded Chi Yunshan to travel in Europe. The former bumpkin can now switch between 3 foreign languages with ease. With money, I took etiquette classes taught by famous teachers to improve my dressing taste and social etiquette. With money, I can also make friends with classmates as I please, and I don't have to feel inferior because I can't afford the money for dinner. What makes me most at ease is that with money, I bought my own large flat in the first year after I obtained the Beijing Hukou. As for the Beijing Hukou, it is also within my plan. My original safest way was to take the postgraduate entrance examination and the civil service examination, but thinking of those family members who were sucking blood from me, I gave up this path within the system. Because once I take that path, I will be subject to too many rules and moral restrictions, and I will be bound by my original family for the rest of my life. But I needed a household registration, so I entered a public institution with my Peking University degree and Chi Yunshan's connections, and quickly got a Beijing household registration and resigned with compensation. It was shameless, but I had no other choice. I wanted to become rich quickly and not be afraid of harassment from my family, so I had to start my own business. When I was busy starting my own business and had achieved some success, I almost forgot that I had a girlfriend like Chi Yunshan, and she suddenly proposed to me. It was graduation season and breakup season. Although she didn't tell me to break up explicitly at that time, she left without saying goodbye and went to the UK. As for her love-hate entanglement with Zhozha, I don't care, and I don't know what they experienced later. I only know that she returned to China with a sad heart. I assumed that Qi Yunshan and I were completely over, but she killed a surprise attack. Shani Chen, although I still love and hate Zhozha in my heart, although I don't love you, let's get married. I want Zhozha to understand that as long as I am willing, a dog who was once bullied by him casually can also become a high-ranking gentleman. If you ask me if I am willing to be a substitute, I don't know, I can't describe the feeling, but I can't say I'm unwilling. Even though I was good enough at that time and many girls liked me, I knew my own weight. Compared with the Qi family, I was still a small ant in a big tree. I needed to be under the big tree to enjoy the shade. We got married, and Qi Yunshan married me in a grand manner. Everyone said that I was marrying up to Qi Yunshan and envied me for marrying a rich lady. Only I knew that she was always just my boss. And my father-in-law and mother-in-law, they are also my bosses. Facing the bosses who were covered by the face of marriage, of course I tried my best to be a good husband. Only in this way can I get more resources and develop and expand my own industry. Under the skin of happiness, I have been waiting for the moment of divorce. Especially after Zhozha returned to China, I noticed their entanglement at the first time. At first, it was staying out all night, and then it was the quarrel between Qi Yunshan and her family. She wanted to divorce, but she didn't tell me at the first time, but discussed it with her parents first. Isn't it ridiculous? In her eyes, I am always insignificant and not worth her attention. However, my willingness to divorce does not mean that I will give up my interests obediently. I am not a rag for Qi Yunshan and Zhozha, who can be thrown away at will after use. 04. The only thing that makes Qi Yunshan feel a little guilty is that she already has a child, which is the child that the Qi family is looking forward to. But she had a car accident, so she used her amnesia to file for divorce, and she felt at ease, as if she didn't have to bear the uneasiness of moral conscience. Now that the last shoe has finally landed, I can finally sleep well. Qi Yunshan did what she said, and handed me the divorce agreement in just 3 days. I took the agreement with trembling hands and stared at her with a sad look. Yunshan, 6 years can warm up even the coldest stone. Have you really never fallen in love with me? In your eyes, is my 6 years of hard work a joke? Have you ever thought about our children? I, a grown man, went from trying to endure to squatting on the ground and crying, like the most pitiful man trampled on in the world. The sadness is fake, but the crying is real. Even if I married her for power and money, even if every night we fell in love was just a show, it was still 6 years of entanglement. Qi Yunshan stretched out a hand, wanting to touch my short hair but stopped in midair. Shani Chen, you have always been the strongest man, don't cry like this, okay? I'm sorry, you are really good, the most qualified husband and son-in-law in the world, but I always love Zhozha more. You know, you have been with me for 6 years, but I have also waited for him for 6 years. You can't bear to let me continue to suffer, right? I despised her in my heart, but I still cried helplessly on my face. She sighed and took the divorce agreement away, and asked the lawyer to give me another copy half a day later. The lawyer smiled at me and said, Mr. Shen is really amazing. He made a lot of money from the fitness club under his name by relying on the Qi family's connections, and he was able to get so many real estates and hundreds of millions of liquid funds from Miss Qi. I admire him. I sighed with a wry smile. If I can choose, I would rather grow old together. The lawyer shook his head and smiled. No matter how smart a woman is, she can't escape the tears of a big man. Of course, it means that Miss Qi has you in her heart, otherwise she will not be soft-hearted no matter how much you cry, and she will double your compensation in half a day. I didn't comment, just smiled and shook my head and signed. Eyes are so precious. If it's not for the benefit, why should I hurt my deep eyes with tears? From beginning to end, I have no dissatisfaction with the Qi family and Qi Yunshan. Even if it was Zhozha who took away my marriage and women, I always kept silent. A decent breakup, a peaceful departure, from now on I only love myself and the upcoming child. Even though I was about to give birth, I was still busy with my career every day. Only my career could give me the greatest sense of security. In the past 2 years, I have opened 3 fitness clubs across the country. Although the number is small, they are high-end and only serve the rich and third-tier celebrities. The income is not small. Because I was born in a poor family, I am more afraid of poverty than anyone else. I want to create the best material conditions for myself and my child. Although Chi Yunshan was hesitant, I hope she can give birth to the child for me. Under my continuous pleading, under the persuasion of Chi's parents, and because Chi Yunshan's body was not suitable for abortion, she finally agreed to give birth to the child. The condition is that the child's surname is Chi, and the family tree is also under the name of the Chi family, but I will raise it. I have no nostalgia for my original family, and I don't want someone to inherit my surname, so I agreed very happily. I am looking forward to the arrival of the child. Finally, on an autumn Saturday morning, my daughter Man swore that she came into the world with the loudest cry. My daughter's full name was given by the Chi family. I gave her the nickname Man because I had to grow up wild because of poverty, and I hope that she can grow up wild and wanton because of wealth. I don't ask for love, I don't ask for the affection of parents and brothers, but what I desire most in my heart is true love. From then on, there was finally someone in this world that I treated sincerely. I hugged Man, and my ex-mother-in-law smiled and stayed by my side. My ex-mother-in-law smiled and held Man's little hand, whispering, "Ichen, even if Yunshan and Zhozha have children in the future, the Zhou family will not agree to let the child have the surname Chi, so you are a great contributor to our Chi family." I smiled and said I dare not. My ex-mother-in-law sighed, and her face changed to a sad look. At the beginning, Yunshan was played as a fool by Zhozha, and she was dying. It was you who stayed by her side all the time, slowly influenced her with gentleness, and put her on the right track. We were looking forward to Yunshan taking over part of the company's affairs, but as soon as Zhozha came back, she immediately became a damn love-brained person, accompanying him in a life of debauchery and mischief every day, and even staying in China for a few days became a luxury. Your father fell ill a few days ago, and I asked them to return home immediately, but Yunshan would rather accompany Zhozha to celebrate his birthday in France than return home to serve her father. What do you think is going on? Before, I advised you to be patient and drag her not to divorce, but you are too young after all and can't bear it. Mom loves you and doesn't want you to suffer alone outside. But don't worry, Ichen, your father and I will never allow Zhozha to marry into our family. Even if the two families are well matched, his reputation is too bad and we can't afford to lose that person. Listening to the former mother-in-law's nagging, I never said a word. This is the Chi family's family affairs, not something that an outsider like me can say. My ex-mother-in-law suddenly held my hand. Ichen, go home and live. This family needs you and Man. Go home. The Chi family is not my home, and they don't like me as much as they think they do. I remember that when I was just dating Chi Yunshan, her parents rejected me very much. I can understand. After all, parents of any big family don't want their daughter to fall in love with a poor phoenixman. I didn't expect to get their approval. Later, because Chi Yunshan died for Zhozha, her parents reluctantly accepted me, but I can still remember the contempt in their eyes and the ridicule in their tone. Especially when I spent the new year at her house for the first time, all the people in the Chi family gathered together to talk and laugh, but ignored me. Some even wanted to treat me as a servant and deliberately put me in a bad face. Chi Yunshan didn't have me in her eyes, and my ex-father-in-law and mother-in-law deliberately ignored me. Who else can I rely on? Fortunately, I had already prepared myself mentally, holding my breath and smiling calmly, so that those people would not be aggressive. After being rejected again and again, and cleaning up the mess for Chi Yunshan again and again, they finally got used to my existence and accepted my identity as the future successor of the Chi family. I can always smile at all kinds of difficulties, but I will not deliberately humiliate myself. I am no longer the clown of the past. Why should I return to the Chi family to humiliate myself? 05. The arrival of Man slowed down my pace of life a lot. Money is important, but accompanying children is equally important. I spent more time with Man to grow up. I love my daughter, and my ex-father-in-law and mother-in-law also love her very much. Originally, my ex-mother-in-law wanted to hold a grand full moon wine for Man, but I refused because the child was too young to meet too many strangers. Until the 100th day, I finally held a 100-day banquet for Man. I didn't let my biological parents and younger brother come. After all, we had almost severed our relationship, and only invited close friends and partners, while the Chi family was very grand, and all the family relatives and friends came. The former father-in-law and mother-in-law were all smiles, and they gave Man a building and a yacht named after her on the spot, which was very generous. I did not refuse, because although Man was my child, she was also the first grandchild of the Chi family, and these were what she deserved. Everyone followed the trend and flattered Man, a child who knew nothing. Chi Yunshan and Zhou were not invited to the 100-day banquet, but they still came late hand in hand. Zhou was dressed in a decent black suit, and smiled and took out a set of silver jewelry. The child is still young, and she can't hold real gold and jade. This is the most suitable for her. The former mother-in-law didn't even look at him, and ordered someone to take the silver jewelry and throw it into the trash can. The ex-mother-in-law looked at Man and smiled kindly. Our Man is the only child of the Chi family, and those cheap things cannot touch her. The word was directed at Zhou. Zhou's face turned pale, but he couldn't get angry on the spot, so he just pinched Chi Yunshan's waist secretly. The ex-mother-in-law smiled and called her daughter, Yunshan, are you so happy that you are stupid? What are you standing there for? Come and hug your daughter. Chi Yunshan looked at the pink and tender child and was a little at a loss, but the expression on her face eased a lot, and even brought a trace of maternal warmth, which was really rare. She raised her hand and asked me with a smile, it's so small, can I hold it? Will it hurt her? When she was born, she only took a look and let someone take it away. This was her first time holding a child. I smiled, it's easy to hold for more than 3 months. Don't hold it vertically for too long. Try to hold it horizontally. It's good for the child's spine. Yeah, you see Man smiled at you, she likes her mother very much. Chi Yunshan was also pleasantly surprised. Man looks so good when she smiles, she looks like me when I was a child, and she looks so cute when she blows bubbles. The ex-mother-in-law said in a funny way, but Man is much better behaved than you were when you were a child. You cried so loudly every day, and several nannies were exhausted by you, but little Man is so quiet, with big black eyes and smiling, and you can tell at a glance that she is more blessed than you. We talked and laughed, and if someone who didn't know the situation saw us, they would definitely think we were a happy family. But this look became a thorn in Zhou's heart. He didn't care about the etiquette of a wealthy family, and hurried to us, pulling Chi Yunshan behind him, as if this woman was his property. When he rushed over, I took the child away in an instant. I would not joke about the child's personal safety. The ex-mother-in-law glared at Zhou. We only invited our family members to the 100-day banquet for our Chi family's granddaughter. What are you doing here? Zhou was used to doing whatever he wanted. He pointed at his ex-mother-in-law and cursed, I am your daughter's childhood sweetheart. We have been together for more than 10 years. Why can't I come? You obviously liked me so much back then. You said that only I was worthy of being the son-in-law of the Chi family. You said that after Yunshan and I got married, I would be your biological son. But it has only been a few years, and you have become like this. Yunshan and I love each other so much, but you broke us up. Do you think the Qing dynasty is still here? The ex-mother-in-law was so angry that she trembled all over. She didn't expect Zhou to be so shameless and make a loud noise. She was so angry that she slapped Chi Yunshan. Look at what kind of men you have provoked. You are pointing at me and cursing before we get married. If we get married, will you force us to die? She pressed Zhou step by step. I said those words at the beginning, but you don't know what you did later. It's shameful enough that you had promiscuous sex abroad, and you even got an unclean disease. Is this how your Zhou family taught their sons? Zhou did not give in, and smiled very proudly. I am unclean and lost my fertility, but your daughter got sterilized for me. We are a perfect match. Before he finished speaking, dozens of people fell silent. The ex-father-in-law's old illness relapsed and he collapsed, and the ex-mother-in-law also covered her chest and almost fainted. It was like an earthquake in my heart. Zhou and Chi Yunshan couldn't have children. God help me and my daughter. 06. The upper class is very reserved in doing things, and even if they are in a bad mood, they rarely quarrel publicly. But this time, the Chi and Zhou families made countless jokes, and the quarrels were more lively than those of slum hooligans and shrews. It was also impossible. Zhou made Chi Yunshan infertile, which was too big a fact. It was understandable that the Chi family couldn't accept it. I just think it's really funny. Zhou has responsibilities, but Qi Yunshan is not a child or a fool. She got sterilized for love voluntarily, which is a big deal in the entire love world. From Zhou's perspective, he definitely met a passionate lover. Although the men ridiculed Zhou, they were still somewhat envious in their hearts. After all, who doesn't want to meet a woman who is willing to die for him? But I don't envy him at all, because my daughter and I are already the biggest winners. Since knowing that Qi Yunshan is infertile, my former father-in-law and mother-in-law have been extremely enthusiastic about me and my child. When Qi Yunshan wanted to divorce, my former father-in-law and mother-in-law stopped her and advised me to be patient. But it was just a superficial effort. After all, no matter how much progress I have made in the past few years, in their eyes, I am still a scheming phoenix man from a poor family, and it is not worth it for them to quarrel with their own daughter because of me. Especially when I just got married, my family came to my house once, and they made a scene for a little money, which was very embarrassing for a while. But I was tough enough. Afterwards, I beat my brother to a pulp behind his back and threatened him that he would never see the sun the next day if he dared to come to my house again. If they behaved honestly, I could give them 100,000 yuan every year, so they had to behave themselves. So compared to our poor in-laws, the former mother-in-law is more. Of course, my father and mother-in-law used to prefer the Zhou family, which is also a wealthy family. Now, with Zhou's arrogance as a comparison, I have become the best son-in-law in the world. It's okay for him to come to persuade me often. After all, he can accompany Man every time he comes, and there is no harm in cultivating the relationship between grandparents and grandchildren. But I didn't expect that only half a year had passed, and Qi Yunshan actually took the initiative to come to the door. She is now a little thinner and calmer, with a confused and depressed look, and she is completely different from the crazy love she was at the beginning. I politely invited her in, with a gentle smile on my face. If you want to see Man, I can take her back to the old house, so as not to trouble you to come in person. Qi Yunshan stared at me in a daze, and spoke for a long time. Chen, let's get back together. Yes, let's get back together. Man needs a complete family, and we will love her well together in the future. There was hesitation in her tone at the beginning, but the second sentence was firm, as if she really wanted to get back together. I lowered my head and smiled. We got married because of Zhou, and then divorced because of him. Now you want to get back together. Could it be that he did something again? Qi Yunshan, we have known each other since high school. Even if you don't regard me as a friend, I am very grateful to you, so I have been willing to give for you and the family for the past 6 years. Please let me go for my sake. I won't pester you, let alone be hysterical, but I also have a heart, love and hatred. Please don't treat me as just a dispensable dead thing. And please don't use Man as an excuse. Ask yourself if you are a good mother. It was you who said that the Qi family needed a child before you got pregnant, but since Zhou returned to China, have you ever thought about your daughter in your heart? She is sorry for me, and it is my own fault. After all, I had my own intentions when I followed her. But Man was the daughter she had been looking forward to, but she abandoned her daughter for Zhou. She is not worthy of being a mother. I was still smiling, but my stomach couldn't help but churn. She really made me sick. 07. Qi Yunshan fled. I looked at her back outside the window, with a sarcastic smile on my lips. To me, her value is dispensable, and she is no longer worthy of me sleeping with her again. She came this time just because Zhou and her parents broke up, and Zhou left home in anger, so she needed me to help her heal again. Come to think of it, no matter what Zhou's character is, he is still the only young master of the Zhou family. He has the confidence not to serve his father-in-law and mother-in-law and not to please women. He came back because he was tired of all kinds of women on the other side of the ocean, because they could not give him warm and delicate love, which only Qi Yunshan could give. But he would not compromise to become a loyal man for Qi Yunshan, and he had no patience to help the Qi family manage the tedious and boring family business. As proud as he was, he would never wrong himself for anyone. He had a big fight with the Qi family before, not because he loved Qi Yunshan so much, but because he felt that he didn't get the woman who was within his reach, which hurt his face. Now that he knows that he will not get anything good by confronting the Qi family, it is normal for him to leave. It can only be said that they may love each other, but they are not suitable. Although Qi Yunshan is a scumbag, she is thin-skinned after all. After being rejected by me, she didn't bother me again. But my ex-father-in-law and mother-in-law are not easy to fool. They finally got rid of Zhozha. Of course they hope to get the custody of their granddaughter back, and letting me go home is just a byproduct. My ex-mother-in-law invited me to have a serious talk about this matter, put the pros and cons on it, and let me make my own choice. I no longer need to rely on the power of the Chi family, so I smiled and declined. Mom, if you want to take custody of Man, I have no objection. After all, her last name is Chi, and she is your and Dad's granddaughter. Just think about it. Yunshan can be crazy about Zhozha, and she may be crazy about other men in the future. If she makes trouble again at that time, what do you think Man will think of her mother? Besides, you know the situation in my family very well. If they remarry, they will inevitably be arrogant and proud. Do you want to see their faces of success? I advised her to think about the advantages of maintaining the status quo and the many shortcomings of forced reunion, and my ex-mother-in-law was also shaken. People always think more about good and less about bad after separation. In fact, when we were together every day, there were not many conflicts. It would be better to be relatives like now. The Chi family finally stopped talking about remarriage and changing custody. It's not that they didn't think about throwing me aside and forcibly taking away Man's custody, but now I am not someone they can bully whenever they want. Let us not talk about the fact that Chi Yunshan and Zhozha's love affair was a hot topic, which gave me the advantage of public opinion. I have too many university alumni and celebrities in my business. If we really have a falling out, even an ant can shake a big tree. Now I have long escaped the lowly fate of being bullied by others, and I have finally grown into the person I expected. I saw Zhozha again at the Paris Fashion Week 2 years later. He was still dressed brightly and beautifully, with 2 fair-skinned beauties in his arms, but even across the tea stage and the shadowy crowd, I could already see the fine lines at the corners of his eyes and the fatigue in his eyes. He looked straight at me with a little hatred in his eyes. I smiled at him, just like before. After the show, I left the venue with a few fashion editors chatting and laughing, and several celebrities followed us and laughed and agreed at any time. But Zhozha stopped me. "Shen Chen, let's talk." I smiled and nodded to my friend, and followed Zhozha into a coffee shop on the street. Seeing that I remained silent, he finally lost his temper and took the initiative to speak. "Shen Chen, you are so proud now. It was just a dog that I bought for 10,000 yuan, but now you have transformed yourself into a gentleman in the upper class." I smiled. "Zhozha, thank you for the 10,000 yuan I gave me. As for my current status, I deserve it, and others have no right to be jealous." Zhozha's eyes were filled with poison. "You deserve it. You just got it by prying your friend's girlfriend and sleeping with women. It's just a shameless thing." I put my hands together on the table and sneered. "I don't understand why you hate me. It was you who pushed Chi Yunshan to me, and it was you who got married. You stole my wife while my marriage was still going on, and you spent all day and night with my wife without any regard for worldly shame. All of all, you are the only one who has let me down, but I have never said a word against you. Zhozha, have you had enough of playing with women, or have you been played with by women? Why have you reached the point where you can no longer afford to play? No matter whether I was a man or a dog, I am now high on my own, while you have already gone downhill. Your selfishness has made your parents a joke in the circle, and even lost the direction of your efforts in business. You don't reflect on yourself, but blame me instead. Is it interesting? Thinking about high school, why did I choose to be a dog? Because I need money, and I need security even more. Those high-ranking and rich classmates not only mocked me and used cold violence against me, but also played tricks on me with bad taste. They thought it was a joke, but I was bullied nakedly. The leader at that time was Zhozha. He liked to see me groveling to him after being embarrassed, and I also satisfied him very well. I was too honest, so honest that he had no desire to challenge me, so I was lucky enough to become his lackey. How ridiculous, I was lucky to be his lackey, otherwise I would not have survived those 3 years in high school. I didn't think about revenge, because I knew that the rules of society were not made by me. I could only go against the current and work hard to become stronger. After paying so much dignity, time and freedom, I finally got it. 08. Zhozha can't even stand still. What this circle needs most is stability. Even if the next generation is incompetent, it is better than messing around. Zhou should be thankful that his parents have laid a strong foundation, otherwise he would have lost the qualification to drink coffee with me on an equal footing. But I think the day when he is abandoned by the circle is not far away. After returning to China, Qi Yunshan was waiting at the airport. The first thing she said when she saw me was, "Is Zhou going to embarrass you again? He is always so arrogant, you don't have to indulge him anymore. It's ridiculous." She was Zhou's most staunch believer back then. Even if Zhou wanted to kill someone, she would hand him a knife and take the blame for him. Just like in high school, when Zhou was not happy, he would use me like a dog until I was exhausted, and she would only smile and put her head on his knees, praising him for doing well and praising him as a warm little son. I skipped the unpleasant past and smiled with relief. No, we are all friends, just catching up. But he doesn't seem to be doing well, and he still loves you. Yunshan, go to Paris to find him. I hope you can be together smoothly. Locked forever, torturing each other. Qi Yunshan looked at me absent-mindedly for a moment, muttering to herself, "Yi Chen, you are completely different from the timid look you had before. When you smile, it seems that there is a layer of dazzling light surrounding your body, which is particularly handsome and charming." The first time she praised me was after the divorce, which was really outrageous. I lowered my eyes and said nothing. I was tired and didn't bother to pay attention to her. Qi Yunshan saw that I didn't speak, so she drove in silence. Halfway through the drive, she suddenly spoke again. "Yi Chen, in fact, I have let go of Zhou a long time ago. His love is like poison. I am afraid. I dare not get close. Can we live a good life in the future?" I know that Zhou has called her countless times recently, but she didn't answer them again, as if she really wanted to break up completely. This is also one of the reasons why Zhou hates me. He thinks that I stole his Qi Yunshan. I smiled calmly. "Qi Yunshan, when you had a car accident, you and Zhou were not quarreling in the car, right? You said his love was like poison, but what you loved was his strong love that could kill people, right? I know that they talked about how to force me to divorce while driving, and Zhou put his head on her when they were talking. They loved unscrupulously and vigorously, and they loved to death without any guilt. Zhou has nothing to do with me, but what about Qi Yunshan? She used to be my wife and the mother of my daughter. She is really disgusting. I also thank her for her disgustingness, which made me climb up without guilt by stepping on her. Only talking about interests and not feelings, this is the best relationship between Qi Yunshan and me. I have my own career, and I manage my daughter's share of the Qi family industry for her. I don't know how happy I am every day. Looking at the cute little baby with a little bit of stubbornness, I often recall my childhood experiences. I always remember the careless expressions of my parents when they discussed how much I could be sold as a son-in-law to a silly woman at the dinner table, as if I, the son sitting next to them, was just an object without emotions. I tried my best to get rid of them, but I could not get rid of the anxiety and fear deep in my heart. So I longed for money, power, and everything that could make me stronger. Now that I have a daughter, I know that the only thing that can heal the broken emotions is the emotion itself. Every time my daughter smiles sweetly at me, it is the best healing for me. I stepped on countless thorns to wear the heavy and beautiful crown. I hope my daughter and every child can wear their own crown with their heads held high. Don't be like me, who once bowed his head to the dust for the crown.